I didn't get a chance to introduce myself this morning. I was a little bit late in traffic and all. Louder. I'm Emily Spillett. I work for Davie Resource Group. I'm an urban forest program manager for the Western region, which is pretty much west of the Mississippi. I'm also vice president of the board for California Urban Forest Council, and I have the extreme privilege of introducing Andrea Torrice today, the filmmaker, standing to my right. You may have read in the program that she's an award-winning documentary and public television producer and writer, but what's not in there is that she's an advocate and artist and activist for community engagement. In addition to the achievements listed in the program, Andrea's worked for 6 years with the Ford Foundation developing film projects that have helped communities make change happen. I had the great privilege of seeing Andrea's film at the Partners in Community Forestry Conference in Denver. It's a great film. You're going to enjoy it. The film's been showed about 43 times in the past couple years. How long has it been out? Since April. And that includes the American Film Association, Congress, as well as being on PBS. While the film focuses on EAB, emerald ash borer, in a community in Ohio, it's actually very relevant to us in California and in the West, as pest and disease happen and can happen anywhere. And it's about how a community reacts to that and what the importance of that reaction is. Andrea also has them for sale up here, and we can order them. She also has a website, too, that we'll make sure we provide towards the end. But with no further ado, and since we're running behind schedule, Andrea Torrice.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to be really short. I made this film for the activists. I like trees. I was like what several people said before I knew about trees. I like them for their aesthetic value. But then a tree fell down in my backyard, an ash tree, and it changed my life. And it was from that event that I made this film, and it's for you to use in any way you can, and I'd be happy to talk about it later, on using film as a way to engage new audiences, new stakeholders into your discussion. Thank you. We'll just see, it's 26 minutes. All right. Yeah, I got 7,000 hits on my website, treesinTrouble.com. By the way, I've got a postcard to give out, which are right there. Please take one. And I work with a team of scientists from the Harvard Arboretum, Harvard Forest, who've developed a list of proactive steps that they're urging Congress to take in terms of slowing down the speed of invasives, and I have that document there, which you're welcome to please take, that they've put out, the Carey Institute in Harvard Forest. And we just did a screening a couple weeks ago to congressional staff and talked about steps that they can take. I could tell you more about that later.
Well, one of the things I noticed, and what's important, is getting out in front of it, that it takes 8 years to actually get the fiscal impacts from a disaster like this. They said it right there. Consul vetoed it the first year. It was like, $350,000? And after that was $3.7 million. So getting out in front of it and getting a plan to deal with it, whatever the pest or the disease is really important.
So the ash problem was really preceded by the American elm problem?
Yes.
And it was kind of thought to be the solution in diversification.
That's
but
right. You got it.
Did you consider tying those two together, and then what's the next step to?
Well, yes, and I didn't have, I had to comply with PBS. I actually have a little piece about the elm, and I have a little more about the chestnut, and I'm going to put on my website. But, when you do broadcast, you have to comply with what their standards are. But yes, as we know, like the city of Chicago, I believe, after they lost their elms, planted 90,000 ash trees, which they are now removing, approximately. There are, by the way, there's a hormonal treatment and wasps. I'm probably sure more of you know about that, because I know it's coming this way. I know that EAB was found in Colorado. It's coming west, but I know that you don't have very many ash trees on the West Coast. You have a very different ecosystem here. So, but it's something to, as with other invasives, as Emily knows all about, you have your other problems. And I think it's an important story. I've been showing this a lot to municipal leaders, American Planning Association, but on the 7,000 hits I got after the broadcasts in April, it was amazing how many, I could have brought some, people who said, I never knew about this before. So in the conversations that you've had, these are homeowners associations have asked me to come and show the film. There's a lot of the stakeholders that Pauline and other people have been talking about, including to help get out your message. Some tree groups have used this as another way to recruit members and fundraise. They'll have a cocktail party and a screening of the film as a fundraiser. There's lots of ways to use a film. I can come and talk if you want me to, or not. So it's just something to think about that you can use as another vehicle. Yes, in the back.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Melius. I'm from Tree San Diego. I was just at a pesticide seminar for my CEUs, and the discussion was Polyphicus shothole borer and the golden spotted oak borer. And bottom line, several people that were talked to from different municipalities, one was even the Marine Corps, one of the Marine Corps bases, they said all they're doing is monitoring, and when they have a diseased tree, they're removing it. That most municipal regulations, one, are not letting them use pesticides. Two, to get permission to use the pesticides is taking too long and the trees are dying in the process. And the military base, for example, one of the companies that did pesticides went up to him and offered their services, and he said, oh, it would take 1.5 years, 2 years to even get you approved to come in and do any work. So I just want to say that as tree people, we need to maybe be a little more vocal about this issue with our municipalities, and as it was mentioned in here, maybe look at our regulations and speed things up, because even, one of the cities, I won't name it, they just passed a no glyphosate policy for the city. And he said that in order for them to use a pesticide, that they could go through this emergency situation. It would take several months, and then by then the tree would be dead. So even though they do have an emergency option, it's too late. So I just urge you all to get a little more involved and maybe know what's happening in your community.
Again, using this as a tool to start the conversation, even if it's not EAB, if it's, whatever the pest is, to get there and start that plan, it's important. I do know cities in the Midwest that are working on it and are treating. Most of the time it's a trunk injection. It's not, a root spray or anything to that effect. There's lots of data out there on it, but you have to get in front of it, and you have to work with your council and your community and already know what you're going to do and have that plan, or else you're already 2 or 3 years before it gets passed, and you can't do anything about it, and you're going to lose them, and it's going to cost you a fortune.
By the way, the city of Cincinnati is only 250,000 people about. So, and the figures that I had there have shot up in the last year alone in terms of millions of dollars that we've gone into our emergency fund to deal with this. So it's following the money and how much it costs was something that was very important to the municipal leaders that I've talked to. And also, did anybody catch Jeff Donovan has done some amazing work, the researcher up in Portland, about the connection between human health and EAB. I'm surprised nobody's asking me. There's a lot. His stuff is very well documented. It's on my website, www.treesinTrouble.com. It's on the postcard. You can pick it up. But that's also a new thing that we were talking about, public health, and making those arguments with municipal leaders on why it's important, why urban forests are important. Yes?
Hi, I'm Marjorie from Tree Musketeers. Before I got into the environmental movement, I was a filmmaker for 10 years, and I would love to hear your thoughts on partnerships that organizations could be making with media producers to try to get environmental education out there. Obviously, a lot of people aren't going to be reading articles or much less those 60 to 100-page papers, research papers. What partnerships can organizations be making with media producers to get this stuff made, and where can we find funding?
Yeah, that's the big question for me, too. There was no funding. I was really shocked because I've made a lot of very films and had pretty easy funding. But I have to say, you have a big challenge, although your state funding, I was very impressed. There does seem to be a lack of education amongst the major foundations about the importance of trees. I went to several of them. It's something that I'm trying to get people to talk about how we can educate them, because they need to be educated about the importance of your work. And that's something that if people want to talk about, I think we should go and demonstrate at one of their meetings. But that's a really important thing. I have lots of strategies. There's many tiers. You can build a media footprint. That's one of the things that I do. From PSAs to little stories on your website. The problem is time. But there's lots of people. Your guys are in California. You guys have all the media masters here. So this is the first time I've shown this film here in LA. So this is like kind of a joke for me, being in this town. But there's many strategies, and it's a longer discussion. But the main thing is knowing what you want to say and to whom, and to get all those stakeholders into the room for a screening and have some specific outcomes that you want to have out of those screening events. So I would say to all of you, my outcome is get the postcard, buy the film, or take these action steps. That's just an example you can do. So there's many, you can do PSAs, put on your website. There's all kinds of personal stories, StoryCorps. There's lots of different strategies, and it's a longer conversation, which I'd be happy to talk to you about.
For the sake of time, we're running a little behind. We can probably do one more question, but Andrea will be here for the afternoon, right? Yeah. And she's here to answer any of your questions. Give a big round of applause to Andrea Torrice.
Thank you very much. Thanks.